experiences that I've had over the past few weeks and talk about the concept of the top 1% entrepreneur and make it clear. There are moments in life where we do need a guru, and then there's other moments where we need sage wisdom. Sage wisdom isn't about the sage. There really isn't any sages. It doesn't exist. What there is wisdom that is understood by someone who has met the conditions that are necessary to allow that wisdom to be available to them and has found a way to bring it to others. It has nothing to do with the individual. This is the fundamental difference between gurus and sages. Why does this matter so much? It matters because you have to discern the difference between a problem to solve and a state of being opportunity. What does that mean? Entrepreneurs are always solving problems. It never ends for us. I listen to the conversations around how do I work on my mindset? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? And listen to the coaches complaining where, nobody ever does anything. They buy them. I'm like, what? Seriously? You haven't met me and my friends in the entrepreneurial world where we share a certain mindset where we're going to do whatever it takes. What happens then is we diagnose a problem. We're not reactive, emotionally reactive people where we're going to be swayed because we're in pain and somebody shows up to be our mommy or daddy and give us all the answers. I've never done that in my entire life. And I don't know anybody who is really successful who ever has either. So I'm not speaking to people who do that. What I'm saying is that when you have a problem to solve and you identify what that problem is, and that is indeed what's going on, because when you solve that problem, you'll get a better result. That's fine. There is a moment where it doesn't work anymore. And it's actually the main thing stopping you from getting what you always wanted. That understanding that you have a problem to solve. And this is what's going on today. It's endemic. We see this everywhere. Everybody is working on themselves and their businesses. It's not going to work. It's time to stop. Not for everyone. If you keep doing this, you will get more success and more failure. And that's it. That's crazy, right? What's this guy talking about? He's insane. You're listening to me and you're thinking, he's insane. Or you're listening to me and saying, that sounds right to me. What's going on if you feel like that sounds right to you? Don't pay any attention to the guy on the wall here. It has nothing to do with me. Nothing. Whether you like me or don't like me or think I'm a jerk or not a jerk or think I'm successful or not successful, it makes no difference. Listen to what I'm saying. This is not about me. What's happening inside you is that you are ready for what? Something different. In other words, you've already mastered this plane of existence enough. You don't need to master it anymore. Inside yourself, you feel like you are successful. You did it. Your business is working, you're making some money, or maybe it isn't, but it has in the past and it will in the future. The external conditions don't matter. Internally, you have mastered this plane of existence in the sense that you know how to diagnose your problems, you know how to solve them. It doesn't matter what the problems are. mindset problems, business problems, whatever problems. It makes no difference. You use the facility of reason really well. That's what matters. You have the ability to discern what's going on in your life, in the marketplace, in your social relationships. That makes you a master of this universe and this existence. This is a rare state. The Stoic philosophers were talking about this state. The rare few in those societies that mastered the society, that understood what was happening. They were not emotionally invested in all of their opinions. They were not trapped in their mindset. That wasn't their problem. That was everybody else's problem. They had transcended this. And they saw how systems worked. They could think in complex ways. It's so limited. You're holding yourself back, and you don't know it. In marketing, they call this problem unaware. Anybody who's successful is listening to this knows what problem unaware means in marketing, or you wouldn't be successful. So what's the problem with being problem unaware? What are you unaware of? The more you look for a dream, the more you look for a purpose, the more you look for a new mission, the more you look for a new mountain to climb, the further away it will get for you. I am not talking about everyone. I am talking to only those, at least in this video or this live, whatever this is. Depends where you're watching it, because we have this on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, who have recognized that you are able to get what you want. You may not have it now, but you know you're going to get there. You know how to solve the problems. You may feel bad sometimes. You may feel good other times. Your relationships may be good or bad. It depends. It changes. But fundamentally, you know you're going to get somewhere. You have the biggest problem of all, unless that's good enough. So think of it like this. If this is good enough, you're done. You mastered your life. There's nothing else for you. And that's great. Just enjoy it. Enjoy your success. Make a little bit more money. Start a business that has a bit more of a purpose and meaning to it. Work harder on figuring out what you love to do and outsource the rest. All those kinds of problems that can get solved that don't really matter, but are important. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying it's not all there is. So what's going on with you then? You feel like perhaps, and it's different, I don't know. This is just generalities. Pick what fits. Maybe you feel like there's something coming that's big. I can't quite grasp what it is, but I got to go find it. The minute you go to, I got to go find it, you just pushed it further away from yourself, and you're not going to find it. What are you going to do instead? You will go on a quest. All of the answers to the questions are in stories. Scientists don't like this. The rational mind doesn't like this. We want something external we can measure. You can't measure truth. That's why it's truth, because it strikes you inside. It's an experience. You don't learn truth. You experience truth. You learn beliefs that keep you from truth. You chase success that keeps you from getting what you always wanted. Why? Because you can only get what you've always wanted through experiencing truth. Where is the truth? You will not find it on the quest. Homer in the Odyssey, Odysseus did not find truth on the quest out in the world. He had an adventure. He seeked out truth and never found it. In Don Quixote, same thing. Don Quixote chased windmills, El Dorado, the city of gold, the conquistadors chasing after the magic city of gold. This is what entrepreneurs are doing. It's the same thing. When you find it, it is like a mirage in the desert. It will disappear. You will get it and look around and say, oh, wait a minute. That was really hard. What do you need? You either need so much success that you collapse inside or so much failure that you collapse inside. It doesn't matter how you collapse inside. What matters is you collapse inside. Can we decide to do this? Absolutely. That's called the call to adventure. Stories. Everybody says these things. Oh, the truth is, it's all about storytelling. They don't know what they're talking about, though. That's not fair. They know it from a certain understanding, but they're missing the deeper significance. If you want to understand yourself and what's happening with you right now, think about stories. Who is called to adventure? The hero, the chosen one. Chosen for what? That's the question. That's the question. Chosen to find the city of gold? No. Chosen to start a purpose-driven business? I've never seen that in a story. Master your mindset? Get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and become incredibly productive so you can have 5 businesses and outsource the rest? I never seen that in a story. Because it doesn't matter. It's important. It's a phase. If that's the phase you're in, what I'm talking about isn't going to help you. You're not ready. How do you know when you're ready? You know. It works like ChatGPT. Go spend some time with yourself and ask yourself, am I going to get what I've always wanted doing what I'm doing? Is being busy with my new 50 clients going to get me what I've always wanted in my life? And if the answer is yes, you did it. Keep going. Get more of that. If the answer is, huh, you got your answer. Then work on the prompts. ChatGPT is all about prompts. I never use ChatGPT anymore. I don't need it. Why? We are surrounded by infinite wisdom. It is in us, around us. It is traveling faster than the speed of light. And it contains everything that we need to do anything. Anything. Unlimited potentiality. Living in flow is the condition of reality. The question is, how do we get there? We do not get there by seeking it. We do not get there by setting goals. We do not get there by identifying strategies. Somebody asked me yesterday on a chat about my sales strategy because they're like, wow, your sales strategy is terrible. And I get it, because if you look at it as my sales strategy, it is terrible. It makes no sense whatsoever to them, and it makes no sense whatsoever to me. Why? When you're connected into infinite wisdom, universal wisdom, when you're connected into universal wisdom, how anything happens is so complex that you don't even try to figure it out. How am I going to get from this point to this point? How am I going to take this vision? It's called the vision intent. And there's a very specific way to create a vision so it happens. If you do it the right way, it will always happen. It will be inevitable that you will get what you always wanted. It is inevitable. But there's a catch. You do not get to figure out how it happens. We cannot do that. Why? Why? It's too complicated. We can't see everything. There are trillions of dimensions and possibilities happening all of the time. How do you set a vision, intent, this is what I want. You experience it as if it's already happened, fully, emotionally, every day. And you adjust it based on what you want because you learn more about what you want. You don't want 50 more clients. You don't want $5 million more. That's what you think you want. There's something deeper. As you get deeper, the vision evolves. And so does the feeling inside of openness. The more you get to the vision that you've always wanted, the more you expand inside. What fills it? That empty space. I just told you. When universal wisdom comes into us, we know everything. We know everything that we need to know and nothing that we don't need to know. How is not my business? I do not evaluate my sales strategy. I do not have sales coaches. I don't read sales books. It makes no difference to me. Same with marketing, same with anything. And I don't care what anybody thinks or sees because we can't understand what needs to happen to fulfill that vision potentiality in the world of existence. It's too complicated. When you connect with your true, deeper self and realize that that little voice or hint or intuition or God or whatever you want to call this thing, when you realize that that thing is not talking to you, it is not telling you what to do, it is not helping you, it doesn't love you, it is not driving you forward. When you realize that that little voice, your spirit, whatever you want to call it, it makes no difference. When you realize in experience this, everything changes completely. That little voice is you. It is you. It's not talking to you. It is you. You just don't see it. Why? There's only two reasons: belief systems and burden patterns. For most successful entrepreneurs, the burden patterns are not that big a deal. They're there. What are burden patterns? There's 8 of them. These are cause and effect chains that you create through mind, action, and impact on other people. We don't have time to get into all of that. If you feel a sense of inner burden, weight, suffering, deep suffering inside, like I used to, and you see your patterns, all of them, as I did from beginning to end, and experience them, they go away. You don't have to go that far. You don't. It's not necessary. You can stop wherever you want. If you do this a little bit, you will see an exponential leap in your experience of life. And then the results come. You don't have to chase them. They come. Not because you're sitting around, but because you're not trying to make it happen. Because you've recognized, I don't know how. It's too complicated. Well, who's doing it then? You. But you're separated. That's the problem. You think there's this you here, and then there's this soul or energy or true self or whatever you want to call it over there. That's not true. It's all here. It's one self. The division is the problem. How do you close that gap? It's simpler than you think. You can't close the gap if you're chasing a result. If you decide this is my direction, I'm going here, you're not going to close the gap. How did I learn this? The myth of Sisyphus is a great way to explain it. And I made up my own version of it, so please don't fact check me. What I realized was that pushing the boulder up the hill was what he wanted to do. That was what he wanted. I always thought he was trapped in suffering. It was the opposite. That's true. That's actually was true. He was trapped in suffering, but he didn't know it. He was suffering. What he thought was that he'd mastered his domain. He was arrogant. Successful entrepreneurs were arrogant because we think we've figured it out. I know how to set goals. I know what I want. You don't. You don't. You can't until you have opened yourself to a bigger crack of this universal wisdom and engaged with it like ChatGPT enough where there is some integration. It doesn't have to be full integration. That's not necessary for anyone. A little bit where it's not passive, but it's part of you. It is active in you, not passive to you, right? You're not waiting for God to tell you where to go. You're saying, where do I go? You get an answer and then you go do it. And you say, how did I do? That's called connecting into truth. That's the power of now. That's what that really means. So for me, I was pushing the boulder up the hill happily, and then I failed in a big way. It was humiliating. And I took my eye off the ball, and the boulder rolled down and crushed me. And I'm laying there flat as a pancake. And I gave up. And I thought, I'm closing this business. It was called Solopreneur Inc. Now it's Red Pill Pathway, which is the real business that always should have been, but I didn't know that. And I thought, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going back to my old business, and I'll just do business development for them and make as much money as I can. I mean, it's a nice passive income. It's more than most people make, but I don't want to do it. And that's not the point either. So it was like, well, why am I doing this if I don't want to do this either? So I gave up. The minute I gave up, everything changed. When you realize you don't know, when you realize that you don't know, that is the beginning of actually getting somewhere. And things start to change. How do you do that? You decide to do it. You recognize that being more productive, getting more clients, having a more purpose-driven business or whatever is important, but it's not going to get you what you always wanted in your life because you're thinking too small. We're here to make an impact, and successful entrepreneurs can impact tens of millions of people. And instead, they're running challenges with 50 people in the room. They're doing coaching programs. They've got a few clients. When it's possible to bring your true self out into the world in a way where your people will understand, and your intention is to impact on their own inner experience. Now, that may look like a productivity course. It may look like a marketing program. It could look like anything. It doesn't matter. But when you are creating that, not from mind, but from deeper than mind. We must transcend mind. The problem is mind. The rationality of mind, conscious or subconscious, when we're in that, it is blocking us from accessing this wisdom. When we gain access to the wisdom, even if it's just a little bit, we make an exponential leap. The first exponential leap is the most amazing. You feel like you're floating. Everyone has their own experience of this, but it is a experience that can only be experienced. It cannot be understood. And it's the beginning. It's the beginning. When you realize who you really are inside, not in the process of doing that, and will have and believe you've completed doing that when you get the success that you're aiming for. This is what I was doing. I thought when my business succeeded, that was the aim of the inner work that I was doing. And it's the opposite. When the boulder flattened me and I thought, I give up, my real life began. Not everyone is ready or should do this. This is not for everybody. Who is it for? There's 3 things you can ask yourself. The first is, do I feel like I'm being called to something bigger? Is there a bigger opportunity here? Recognize that bigger opportunity is something that cannot be measured. If you think it's a different kind of business, oh, I've always wanted to be this, it's not going to work. It's just another one of those. It'll be nice. But if you're at that point where you're being called to adventure, it will never work. The second is a feeling something's missing. This is actually pain. It's a pain experience. It's not really pain. It's more emotionally driven. Because what's happening is you're being sent emotional signals that are trying to wake you up and say, look, don't go after the next success. It won't work. This usually happens after a huge success or a huge failure. This is why someone wins a big championship or builds a business that explodes, 100 million, 2 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion, it doesn't matter. And then they realize, wow, this doesn't feel good. That's what's going on. That's the call to adventure. The third situation is someone where you're feeling it. You start reading wisdom. It's all the same. All wisdom traditions are the same. It has nothing to do with the author. Nothing I'm saying has anything to do with me. I'm not relevant. I'm not even here. Don't pay attention to me. Pay attention to what I'm saying. When you know that you are beginning to get access to something bigger because you are fascinated now by things that don't make any sense to you, but they sort of make sense because you know truth. You know it's true, but you doubt it because you have belief systems that keep you from truth. Everyone does. This is normal. This is part of the journey. When you decide, I will leap into the unknown and stop running, you are on the verge of an exponential leap and a series of them leading to a potential leap into the quantum field of experience, which is very, very different. I call that the last mile connection. Why wouldn't anyone do this? Because we don't want to give up our beliefs. It's hard to give up your beliefs because we believe them. Everything we were taught is wrong. I mean, everything. And I'm saying that to deliberately trigger people. Triggered me. You're saying I'm wrong? Yes. Yes. I'm saying that what you believe is keeping you from getting everything that you always wanted. This was my own experience. But my experience will be different than yours. But the truth is the truth. And that will never change.